You got somebody there yet?
I'd like to call this meeting to order for our March meeting, and Dr. Walski's going to pray for us, and then we're going to have a pledge of allegiance.
Everybody good? Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and meet, and we ask that you be with the board as they make decisions tonight, and just be with our school system, and bless it, let it glorify you with everything we say and do, and Lord, just get us through this cold weather coming and protect those without power and heat, and those that have to wait at the bus stops in the morning. In your holy and precious name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item we have tonight is our consent items, which is our agenda, minutes of the February meeting, an overnight field trip to Athens for FCCLA, and a policy for revision, IFFA, textbook selection. I have a motion to approve those.
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Hyden, second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Next item is public participation, so we don't have any of that, so we'll move on to our financial.
Okay, hey, we're presenting the February financials. So that's July 1st, 2022 through February 28th, 2023. So we're 66.67% of the fiscal year complete. First up, we have our general fund revenues. As you can see, we didn't receive any checks in February. We received them in March. Those did not increase since last time. However, we're in pretty good shape when it comes to our ad valorem taxes and our TABT title ad valorem taxes. Moving down, you can see that our impact aid came in, so that's one of the biggest changes we've had. So we received $244,000 in impact aid, and so we will adjust that at budget. And overall, we're 74.12, which is greater than 66%. Next up, we have our expenditures. Like I've included the prior years, so you can kind of see where we are there. Nothing really jumping out except what we've already talked about with maintenance and operation. And then also just the other, the buses and grants to come. Right now we're at 64%, which is good because it's less than 66%. Moving
Can I
to
ask
start.
you a question?
Yes,
That gold star, oh, Claire, is that good?
that's good.
Okay, I
I
want to make
didn't
sure.
change it to green.
Okay, all right, good. I thought so.
Next up, we have our balance sheet. So you see that we have 4.5 million. You can see all the breakout with Farmer State Bank and F&M. Prior year at this time, we had 3.9 million. Our total fund equity is 3.5 million. Prior month it was 3.7, and prior year was 2.99. And once again, you're just seeing our fund equity at 3.5. Next up, we have our SPLOST collection proceeds. 77,000, still good, but it's the lowest we've seen it in quite some time. But our average is still in the 90,000 range. Next, just prior years. Okay, so SPLOST summary. Balance of the SPLOST is 721,000. Last prior year it was 634. Moving down to our bond tax summary. Our balance is 1.267, and last year at this time it was 1.03. So here's a breakout of our balance available for future bond and interest payments. We're about to have our next payment due April 1st, so you'll see in the March, we have to pay it one day before, so that 1.177 will come out. And we have enough to pay that, as well as our October, and then we're 34% on our way to our next April 1st. Capital projects, no real changes here. Okay, now we just have our financial status reports. General fund, Just reiterating what we've already gone through. Special revenue, this is all of our grants, so revenue should really equal expenditures unless I haven't drawn them down yet. So we have about 45% expended out of our budget, and I've drawn down about 40% of that, so should be balanced by the end of the fiscal year. Capital projects, no changes except some interest income. And then debt service, no payments, but next month we will have our big payment come out of that. Any questions with our regular financials? Okay, next up, I'm presenting the ESSER update. It's just something that they would like for us to do since it is the federal money. With ESSER 1, we've already spent that in fiscal year 21, so we're good there. ESSER 2, we've spent all of this as well. You can see the breakout by fiscal year and by what we've actually spent it on. And then lastly, ARP. We are still using these funds. As y'all know, we have the HVAC in this as well as the flooring project. So all of those items in fiscal year 23 or carried over once fiscal year 23 ends. So we do have a little buffer. As long as we have a contract in place by September of 2023, we have 2 more years to spend it all. That gives us the breakdown by fiscal year and by this project. So wanted to have that for y'all to kind of go over. And just if y'all had any questions on that or want to come back with questions after y'all reviewed it a little bit more. Okay, if there's no questions on that. Okay, no questions on that? Okay.
Everybody good?
Okay, we have to do our quarterly reports. So this is our October through December of 2022. First up, we have the elementary school. They began with a balance of $42,730 and they ended with $45,465. And that's the breakout by category.
Question. I see the flower fund on there. What about the rock fund, or it didn't start then?
That went into office. Office is like our general fundraiser.
Okay. Is it doing good?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Paintings have been beautiful. They really have.
Okay, next up we have middle school. They had a beginning balance of $45,669 and an ending balance of $49,048. Next up, we have our high school activity count. With a beginning balance of $59,735, ending in December with $64,762. Next up is our athletics. Beginning 53,000, ending 56,000. Well,
Go ahead.
Question on athletics. So that ended in September 30th?
no,
Or
I
what is
think
that?
the dates are wrong, and I need to, because I saw the same thing right then, so I'm gonna go back and switch that up, and I'll present it next board meeting with the right data.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if that was the end of the year, I was just thinking where cheerleading got a lot more than general athletics or football. So that's probably not,
I'm gonna go and get
okay,
that.
okay, all right, no problem.
Well, I was gonna ask that, but the cheerleading fund is coming by itself, right? That's
Separate.
not in,
And they pay for everything.
on there, yes, that's
And
correct.
that's why.
But is that number is equal into that total at the bottom, though?
The cheerleaders?
Yes,
Mhm.
okay. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's one thing about that sport. I know when my girls were there, they paid for everything, so that's why probably why that number's so low. I have a question also. On the, just from my knowledge, the elementary school. What does contributions in elementary school consist of? The reason I'm asking that is because I noticed the middle school and high school, the most they take in is $5,000 or $6,000, you know, over that period of time, but the elementary school took in 17,000.
I
What
don't
is
know
that?
if she puts the fundraiser in, I'm pretty sure she puts fundraiser in office. Contributions, I don't, like, we have a lot of people donate to lunch money
Okay,
and, you know, just like student need,
okay,
paying for field trips and stuff. So I think that that's what she puts in contributions.
okay. I just knew it was a much higher number than the high school, middle school, and that's why I was curious. Any other questions on the financial?
In case you're curious, our CFO is being overachieving. She's been sick for the last 2 days, and she's here overachieving and presenting anyway, and that's the reason for the mask. So it's not that she's trying to be incognito, she just doesn't feel very good.
I commend her, but I hope she ain't got COVID. COVID's not going around again, is it?
I told you,
Wouldn't surprise me if it went around again.
COVID was purchased.
COVID-3.
All right, if there's no other questions on the financials, we'll move on to our next item, non-resident enrollment requests.
We actually have 3 of these, and as always, the community cannot see who is up here, but these are a direct connection to a family, and Ms. Goldman has signed these, and it's a direct connection to a family of one of our teachers for the first 2.
They're all elementary school.
Yes, they are elementary school.
Do we need to vote on each individual one, or can we vote on all of them at one time?
That's up to the board. The board could vote all at the same time. If you want to pull one and discuss it, we can do that as well. It is a board choice.
Guys,
With no objection, I make a motion we approve all 3.
okay, I have a motion by Mr. Reese to approve all 3.
Second.
A second by Mr. Monroe. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank y'all.
Next item is school board recognition week.
Okay, congratulations to all of our board members. It is School Board Recognition Week, and Georgia School Board Association has provided a token of their appreciation that's sitting there on your desk in front of you, as well as I printed the certificate for you. We also have a proclamation from the governor that he does every year. I'll read that quickly if we don't mind. It says, by the governor of the state of Georgia, proclamation, School Board Appreciation Week. Whereas our children's education is an essential element in our Georgia's continued prosperity and success, and whereas for Georgia to continue to grow and prosper, we must commit to providing trained teachers and staff and adequate resources to all our schools, and whereas Georgians serving on school boards have demonstrated a strong commitment to quality public education by securing necessary resources, promoting academic standards, and fostering partnerships within communities, and whereas Georgians elected to boards of education collaborate with school systems, parents, businesses, and community leaders so that students can become educated, productive members of our state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Brian Kemp, Governor of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim March 13 through 17 of 2023 a School Board Appreciation Week in Georgia. I witness, thereof, I have hereinto set my hand and caused the seal of the Executive Department of the affixed this 9th day of February in this 2023. So again, congratulations and thank you so much for serving. I know that it is not a wonderful job to do, but we sure appreciate your support, and it makes a world of difference for us. So thank you all very much.
The next item is the district legislative delegate and its alternate.
annually down in Savannah, and this year it is June 8th through the 10th. Annually, we have to elect a delegate and an alternate, in case something happens, to attend the district legislation in Savannah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe last year, Mr. Reese went down.
I was, and Miss Barksdale went also.
Well, Ms. Barksdale was on a committee.
That's right, she was on the committee.
appointed
She
to,
was.
so yes, she did, but
was
she
there.
went down for a different reason, but it was great that she got selected last year. So our delegate last year was Mr. Reese. We need to identify and vote on a delegate and an alternate for this year, and again, it's June 8th through 10th, if I remember correctly. Do we have any volunteers for that?
Recommendations and volunteers.
Recommendations, volunteers,
Probably
voluntold, however you want to say it.
I said I'd do it this year.
I think it's your turn.
Can more than one go? I mean,
Well, in fact, the entire board could go if the entire board
well,
wanted to
and
go.
I asked that. I mean, there were some that were there. It was multiple.
Agreed. Some boards go to that event as their whole board training.
Okay.
We go to our whole board training and combine with Washington Wilkes and Tolliver for our whole board training. But some boards do go down for that, and that's what you saw. You're correct. But we have in the past always sent a delegate and or alternate. So it sounds like Mr. Heitman got told that he's attending. Is he,
Yes, I'm gonna check.
is he okay with that? Or I know that there's a conflict in the summer for you at times.
Yeah, I don't think it's this time, so.
Okay, okay. I'm just trying to get ahead of it instead of,
Okay,
all right.
and I will let you know if something, where,
Thank
if I
you.
have something else scheduled.
Okay, and then we would need an alternate.
Do we need to vote on that or not?
We can vote on that individually, or we could do that and an alternate, and vote on them together. It doesn't matter, but we do have to vote on it, yes, sir.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I
You can put
think
me
Jim
down.
needs to be the alternate this time.
Jim.
Okay. You okay with that?
That's fine, I know he'll back out now, but good.
If he does, I'll go.
Doesn't matter.
It's actually good. It was enjoyable.
Okay, so we have Mr. Heitman as the delegate. We have Mr. Madsen as the alternate. Okay? If we can get a motion for that.
All right, I
vote
need a
on that.
motion to approve Mr. Heitman and Mr. Madison as delegate. Motion by Mr. Morgan.
All right.
Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor?
Wonderful. Thank you all very much.
All right, our next item is our 5 years facilities plan.
Okay, I wanted to give you just an update. The 5 years facility plan is a requirement that we do, obviously every 5 years, but it's a requirement that helps us do a comprehensive facilities study in looking at money that the state can provide. What happens is you get 4 total individuals from other districts to serve on this team. The team evaluates your presentation. It used to be, before COVID, they would actually come on site and walk around all the facilities with you. Now that COVID has been in the way, it's all done virtually. They go through your presentation, they discuss financially where you could be, and the most important part of this whole presentation is on page 7 and on page 9. Page 7 will show you the improvement needs certification. How this works is when you build a building, that building at that point is valued for facility improvements at 0. It goes over time, it gains financial amount based on a percentage that is figured at Godot, and you cannot use that for 20 years. From the beginning of that building being built. So you can't touch it for 20 years. So that's in place for our high school, middle school. We're building dollars, but we can't touch it. It's kind of like escrow. It's kind of sitting there and growing, but we can't do anything with it. The old elementary school, as we would call it over here, is past its 20-year number, so we can use it. They did use it in 2008. Once you use it, you can't touch it for another 10 years. So that it can either build back up or that it could multiply. So we're kind of in between. We could use some on the elementary school. We had discussed using some on the elementary school before we got ESSER funds and CARES funds. We had discussed maybe tapping into that. Since we got ESSER funds and CARES funds, we didn't have to. So it is still building. Now, what page 7 is showing us is that the total facility improvements that were eligible for entitlements is 1.5 million, which the majority of that, or all of that, I should say, all of that is from the elementary school because we could touch that. Overall, we're looking at 11.65, but we can't touch that because the 10 million comes out of the high school area. Now, I was talking to them about the possibilities of looking forward, as we have discussed as a board a few times, building a new elementary school. They have a program called Pay Forward. We're too far out to discuss Pay Forward, but we're getting closer. And we all know that the bonds on the high school are paid off in 2037. So you really can't touch SPLOST funds until 2037 when all of that is paid off, which is what it says on number 4, which is on page 9. So we really can't touch those dollars until 2037. Now the state has a program, like I said, called Pay It Forward. You could actually pay forward and borrow the money ahead of time, which they did to help finance some of the high school down there. It just puts you in a case of the shorts if you need something afterwards. We're not close enough to that time frame to be able to use Pay Forward. However, it's something that I'm wanting them to think about, so we are getting there. We did get some compliments from the group on our facilities plan. We did get some compliments on the group on how we've made a number of safety improvements on all of our buildings and our CTAE and dual enrollment. So we did get approved for our 5 years facility plan, and it's good now until 27. So I wanted to present that to the board, show the board where we were at, and again, we are planning and looking forward and hopefully not having to touch this until we can talk closer to building a new elementary school in the future.
Question.
Sure.
What types of items could you spend that money on, say for example, the elementary school? And then how easily is it to get? How easy is it to get?
Basically, the way the process works is you're about a year out. You start, if you wanted to use it. If you wanted to tap into it, you would start making that application usually in April. And then you would have access to those funds the following June, not the next June, but the following June. You have to go through that process. And then the state, Godot, has overseeing of those dollars and how you use them. You can use them for common things like HVAC. You could use them for an addition. You could use those for floors, etc. But like I said, we were blessed enough to use CARES Act money, so we didn't have to. So that's what we were talking about, possibly tapping into that, and we didn't have to. So that allows it to compound much higher because there's money in there. So it is an advantage for us not to have touched it.
How much does it accrue each year?
I don't know that magic number. It's based on the age and how it configures. I can try and get that exact percentage for you if that would help, but it does go up fairly quickly. I mean, it's in 10 million right now at the high school, so.
I mean, in 5 years at the elementary school, it's only went up $1.5 million, so you'll never catch enough money to build a school.
No, but you could use the pay forward funds to be able to adjust that, and then you'd get into the SPLOST to borrow money, exactly. You'd borrow from this program. That's what that would be about.
So this money's limited to capital improvements? though?
Yes, sir. That's it. That whole program is capital improvements. But it would be major capital improvements, not like our little capital improvement program that Taylor reports on, but this is the major stuff.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Very glad that we got approved again. It's always a good thing.
We'll move on to our policies for review.
We actually have 3 policies for review: A, B, C, C, which is board member term of office; A, B, C, D, A, which is board member unexpired term fulfillment; And then BBD, which is Board Superintendent Relations. All of those are fine as written, and we'll move forward. Number 14 is Policy for Revision. And this is CGPB. And there was an adjustment made as far as time, and there was a possible question. Do you want to add that question here, or do you want to?
Well, I just think for future, on the bottom bar, if principals must leave during the day, they must designate another person to be in charge of the school during their absence. That's obviously going to happen.
It does.
But in this case, I think for future, we need to put something in there that also says that they will let you as the superintendent or the administrator in charge know of their leaving early or their absence. Just so it's
And
documented
right,
and it's cut.
correct. And right now, I have a great relationship with the principals, and I know that happens when something happens. But in the future, when I'm retired and living in Cancun or wherever I'm at, I don't know what the next person's gonna do. So if that's in policy,
Yes.
that would help protect this board in case there was a different scenario. So I'll be more than happy to add that. So if we could, if with board approval, we would pull this off of revision.
Okay.
Let me take it back and revise it again, and I'll bring it back in April if that's okay.
Okay.
No, that's just a
So
suggestion.
this is just, it's already happening, I mean.
We're doing it now with our
principals.
principals. This is common sense to us. We don't even talk about it. They just call and say X. But moving forward after me, I don't know that. So I understand Mr. Reese's concern, and it's something you could put on paper. If it happens anyway, it's not a problem.
I agree with it, I mean, it should be on there.
So basically, they're letting you know, just like you let us know in
That's-
your absence, they're letting us know.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
they do that for me now, and we've had that
Right.
relationship since I got here.
It's just not in writing at all.
That's correct. I would rather make sure it's in there, and we'll just put it down and move it forward.
So do we need a motion to pull that out?
I would make a recommendation that we would table it until, for additional revision, would be my recommendation.
Okay.
So we need a motion to table CGPB
That's correct.
until further revision.
That's correct.
I'd make that motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Reese to table it until April,
So,
second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Superintendent's reports.
we have two things I wanted to show the board and bring forward. Last year, as you remember, we got the legislative position extremely late. In fact, I think it was about, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you departed?
No.
We
it
got
was
that?
a week,
Was it a week
almost-
before? Okay.
Yeah, it was
I know it was extremely
on the
late.
fly.
And normally, we would get it in March. And for whatever reason, they didn't get it to us until then. This year, they have provided it. This is the 2023 legislative position. Now, there's a whole lot in here. There's a whole lot of discussion about things that we do every day, but I did not want to keep it from anybody in case you had a question. Some of these things still have to be voted on. Some of these things, they're waiting to see how the General Assembly will finalize. But this is their position as of today. So this provides that opportunity. Now, if anybody wants to present anything as a different position, they're still taking these until the 17th of April, I believe it is. But if we wanted to present something additional as a position, we could do that, send it to GSBA, and they would let us know if that got approved or not. But at this point, I wanted to at least provide the legislative position. What'll happen is that legislative position will go before the entire group down in June, and then our delegate will vote as this board decides we should vote. So if there's things on there that you see that you really like or really don't like, we as a board need to decide so that we can tell Mr. Heitman, we want to vote yes for this or we want to vote no for that. So that's how the process works. So I'll give you an opportunity to read over that. If there's anything that hits you in the nose, or if something changes through legislation, I will let you know. The next one down is Fields of Faith. Our FCA group, which is our high school children, which is currently led by Mrs. Huff, is going to do a Fields of Faith on the soccer stadium. That is April 19th of 2023 from 5:30 to 8:30. Everybody is welcome to attend. I just want the board to know what's going on, so when the lights are on and you get a call of what in the world's going on at the high school, there's a great thing going on at the high school. It's a Fields of Faith, and the children are there by choice, and there will be pizza available for the kids, and they have a guest speaker named Eric Parker. Now, isn't Eric Parker, and I'm asking so I don't mess this up, isn't that the gentleman from Burke that was a coach? Yes, okay. Just
He
making
had a
sure.
heart attack and fell out.
That's correct. And he's going to present to them at that event. So I just wanted the board to know what was going on that field. There are all of our kids and our teachers involved, so there wouldn't be an issue of a rental. So just trying to keep everybody in the loop of what's going on.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
On this, our SRO, how is, I'm getting feedback from the community. What's the feedback? We could ask the principals.
You're welcome to.
What's y'all's feedback? I mean, good?
Nice to have them there every day, absolutely.
I just see them moving around a lot as I'm around. They're different places, so I was just curious. Is the feel in the school system with the students, with the teachers, everything?
Yeah, it's
Good.
nice to have them home.
I've had one complaint from one SRO that's the most walking he's done in 20 years.
I just like
Told
that
him
you
that was
see
gonna
them
happen.
in different places at different times.
Absolutely.
And
And that-
that's what I like seeing.
That's the plan, is that they're not predictable. And one of the weird advantages, which is different than what we had originally planned, it's a different person almost every day. And the different person is going to do it differently, because we don't dictate you have to be at the elementary school at 9. We don't do that. They move around as they see fit, and they have to be at both schools multiple times in the day. So it works out very well so far. Hopefully, we don't ever test it.
Sure. All right, no other questions? I need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go.
Second by Mr. Heitman. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the retirement of Kevin Banks at the end of this school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Molly Spurlock, effective at the end of 23 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Stephen Hardy as a social studies teacher for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Sonny Spurlock, effective May 26, 23.
Second.
Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Parker Martin as a physical education teacher and a football coach for the 23-24 school year. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we approve a contract for Victoria Daniels for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? Unanimous. Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Justin Hornsby, May 26, 2023. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light has recommended, and I make a motion that we approve a contract for Taylor Atkins for the 23-24 school year as a paraprofessional.
No.
I'm sorry.
She's in the
Yes, that
food
was
service.
that was my mistake.
Right. No problem. Teacher contract.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? Dr. Lights made a motion. I made a recommendation, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Diane Sward as February 20th, 2023. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Joanne Smith as the interim food service manager position. Second by Mr. Reese. All in favor? Dr. Light is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Sonia Leverett as a custodian for the 23-24 school year. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Sonia Leverett as a custodian for the, did I do it twice? Yep. I'm sorry.
Should have to do twice the word.
Yes. Dr. Light is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Nicole Bernard as a substitute custodian for the 22-23 school year. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Dr. Light is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Juanita Gartrell as a 12-month custodian.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Nancy Hurd as a 10-month custodian.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitland. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Britt McKinney as a second grade teacher for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor?
Abstain.
Abstained by Mr. Madison. All in favor? 4, with Mr. Madison abstaining.
401.
Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Marcy Ann Olligood as a pre-K teacher for 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitman.
I'm going to abstain, family relations.
Okay, abstained by Mr. Reese. 4 in favor and 1 abstain.
401.
All right, Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Caroline Rudolph, effective May 26th of 23.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Tracy Pittman as a paraprofessional for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Diane Paradise as a kindergarten classroom paraprofessional for 23-24 school year. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we accept Angela Brown, the resignation of Angela Brown, as effective the end of 22-23 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Rita Burgess as a paraprofessional for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? And Dr. Light's recommended, and I make a motion that we approve Lee Humskis as the head of football operations, and that we also approve Coach Doug Huff as the athletic director of all other sports.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Did I miss anybody? Nope.
Make a motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you, gentlemen.